Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Wormley, and today I'm going to talk about the Japanese and the different levels of Japanese immigration on down to four generations. And we start off with the Issei, the first generation, the immigrant. Then we talk about the Neisi, their children, first American-born citizens, and the grandchildren of the Issei, the Sansei, and the great grandchildren of the Yonsei, and then they develop into what we call the model minority. The Japanese came here after the Chinese, and they faced a lot of the same discriminatory practices that the Chinese had. But the Japanese were skilled agriculturalists, and like the Chinese, they settled over in California. And settling in California with the agriculture pretty much on lock, they competition arose from mainstream, and mainstream came up with a rule in the California legislature called the Alien Land Act. And what this did was it prohibited foreigners from being citizens. And if you can't be a citizen, you can't own land. So the Japanese, being ever resourceful, they got around this by having their own little enclave communities, and they kept stuff within that community that similar to Chinatown. But they also went even further, knowing that their children were, since they were American-born citizens, they could take their land and put it in their names and circumvent that legislation. Okay, and the second generation came about in the 20s and 30s, and they were called the Nesis. I guess it's Neisi. Yes, is what I can't really pronounce it, but that's the best I can do with it. And they were a little bit more progressive. They opened churches, athletic organizations, and clubs, and a lot of community organizations, and they believed in the American ideal. Then along comes 1941 when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and the war had started running rampant. President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066 into legislation, and what that did was it violated a lot of Japanese Americans' rights, and they rounded them up and herded them in detention centers, no hearings, no none of that. And even though they were in there, the conditions were horrendous. Some of them gained favor. The second generation of Neisi gained favor with the administration in there, and they were able to be in leadership roles. And then after that, they were able to join the armed forces, and they acquired the GI Bill. From the GI Bill, they got their education and everything. And then when things turned around and they were a little more acceptable and everything toward mainstream society, they were right in position to get that education, and they would get up into more mainstream jobs that required less white supervision and less public contact. And from that, the next generation, the Sansei, which are the grandchildren of the first generation, the Isei, they were able to enjoy a more upwardly mobile lifestyle and more prosperity as a result. And then they were considered by many to be a model minority. Thank you.